welcome back to the Marky Mark Show. First things first, don't be concerned with my wires and stuff, alright? I can't afford a wireless mic yet, but we're gonna get there. But I like this mic so far. It's cheap. I got it for like 14 bucks. It was regular, hey, chill. It was like $100 some mic, but I followed these like coupon pages. Got it for the 15, but it's wired, so it is what it is. But we're gonna get there, as time goes on. We're gonna increase production, you know what I'm saying? So we're working on it. But welcome back. I'll be wearing this outfit for a couple episodes because I'm gonna try to record a couple on the same day just because I'm gonna be down for a little bit. But yeah, so we'll talk about a little bit more about the incident, my injury, my recovery, and why I ultimately wasn't able to make it back to the sheriff's department. So I said, why am I saying I took a speech class in college, and I'm not supposed to ignore that. It's annoying. It annoys me when I listen back and hear that. But yeah, so for those that know me know that I usually work during the week. I don't work weekends. I don't like to work weekends. So I'll take that graveyard, and at my station, just did it again. At my station, I'm usually on my shift. I'm usually the young guy on shift. So the day I worked, I came in and it was a day trade. My coworker needed a day trade. I ended up needing a day trade anyways for to watch my kid. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll switch you. And I was like, all right. I'm pissing myself off because I'm saying but raw and unfiltered. Anyways, I came in and I walked into the locker room and they were like, Mason, we're so glad to see you. Oh my God. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, it's like, where's everybody at? They're like, this is it. So it's just two dudes in the locker room. And so I think I was the third. And so total on shift that night, we had, I think there was 5 of us. So we had a Paul 40, and who's like, for those of you who don't know what a Paul 40 is, it's like the most senior person on shift. So they kind of assist where needed, and they're kind of like a unofficial supervisor. So we had a Paul 40 and we had 4 regular patrol deputies. So that left 2 vacant beats. So usually we have, there's 6 beats in the city. We usually have 6, and then the Paul 40 at least, and usually a rover, a couple rovers. And so it was it was pretty ugly. But so they had 2 people hold over for 4 hours, and then 2 people come in early for 4 hours, because that gives you your max limit, because we work 12-hour shifts. So 12 plus 4 equals 16, and per policy you have to have at least 8 hours off before you work your shift. So I was trying to chill that day, so I was gonna go to for those of you that are in the cars, every year in Southern California there's a S2000 NSX beach cruise, and it takes place at PCH. And I missed it the past 2 years because either the car was in the shop or the car was getting painted and whatnot. So I'd always wanted to go. And I was supposed to get off work and go to it. I was one of my OG friends from Vegas. He works for Vegas PD. He was supposed to come down and meet me, and we were supposed to cruise out. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go handle business, clear the board, get active for a little bit, but I'm gonna just go post up, get my paperwork done. So I was like, I'm gonna chill. I'm not gonna be super proactive tonight. After a certain time, I'm gonna just chill, do my paperwork, and then get ready to go hit my cruise. So I'm like, all right. See a call holding, and it was in the beat next to me, and which is a vacant beat. And I was all right, cool. I'll go knock it out. I was in the north side of the city. And north side of the city is usually chill. The south side is where most of the activity happens. The north side, sometimes we'll have stuff, but generally there's nothing, or it's something pretty monumental, depending. So you don't usually get a lot of activity. So I got a vehicle check, and I ended up going to the vehicle check. It was on the street. You basically when I turn on, he's immediately right there. So there's no sneaking up or anything or coming behind. So I get behind him, get out my car, approach, talking to him, blah, 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 chatting it up. I can tell something's not right about the situation. So the information received is that he had been sitting there for a couple hours, lights on in the car, whatever, gave a description of him. So I'm talking to him. His stories kind of make sense of what he's saying, but something doesn't make sense because it's like, why are you here though? So something about him wasn't right, and I could tell. So I tried to run him over the air, kept getting stepped on. So I was sitting there for so long waiting to get onto the radio to run him that I just felt uncomfortable sitting at the pillar. So went back to the unit, ran him on my MDC, and every cop that knows, well, I don't know about other states or other cities, but when you run somebody, boom, as soon as I hit enter, I see the red. So everybody knows what the red means, either warrant, parole, probation. So I'm reading it, just got released on parole for 215, PC 215. For those of you who don't know, it's carjacking. So I'm like, all right, he's on felony parole for like a serious felony, a violent felony. So I'm like, all right, go to pick up the mic to I copy parole, to let dispatch know I can read. And because usually it's coming, but get stepped on again, and I'm trying to hit the button, but I'm stepped on, so I'm like, I gotta get out of the car, because the worst place you want to be is in the car. You're trapped. If you're in the car, you can't get out. So if you get ambushed, it's the worst place to be in. So I get out of the car, make my approach, talking to him, confirming the parole, and as soon as I go to get him out the car, the inevitable happens. I end up catching 4 rounds. One, they told me hit my tourniquet, my vest caught one, and then 2 went under. So one went into the front of my abdomen, and then the other one went through my side. And so one of the rounds ended up hitting my L5 vertebrae and basically fractured my L5, had damage to my spinal cord, and I immediately lost all function to my below the waist. So I ended up in a fight for my life, no function below the waist, and so I made it out. So I can't get into all the details of it because it's an active investigation still. So hopefully once it's all said and done, I can give you all the full details, but it's really a crazy story for those that do know it. And the ones that have heard the audio is even crazier. But ultimately, I was able to fight enough to survive, get the weapon away, so I was able to get the gun and return, obviously, and then gave a description. But during the fight, I wasn't able to get to the radio, so people were still putting out traffic, and my partners don't even know I've been shot, and so I'm there fighting. I'm trying to get to the radio. Mid-fight, I hit my mic to try to let my partners know I've been shot. I'm in a fight. Mic hears boom in my ear is all I hear, and I'm like, I'm screwed. So I end up hitting my EMER once I was able to, because after I gave that one chance to get on my radio, it's either you prioritize the radio or you fight for your life. So either what was more important to me at the time, and it was surviving. So after I was able to get access to my radio, I hit my EMER, let them know what happened, gave description, DOT, direction of travel for those of you who don't know, etc. And then my partners would come in, and so I always make light of certain things because in the moment it wasn't funny, but after it was funny. So my boy Revelar, he was like my mentor going through the department, growing up through the department. So from when I started all the way until up until my last day, he's like somebody that I will never be able to repay for, all the mentorship and everything he's done for me. So he hops on the radio and he's like, "I'm on the way, Papa." I said, thankfully that night we had a DUI saturation overtime, and so he wasn't too far off. But everybody else is in the south side of the city or taking people to jail or whatnot. So they were coming to get me, and where I was, like, I'm laying on my back and I can't move. I can't get up. I can't get to my trauma kit in the car. Obviously my tourniquet is shot, but tourniquet can't do anything for my abdomen. So I need that kit in the car, but I can't get to it because I can't move. The only thing that works basically is my arms. My abdomen's all tore up. So my stomach and my spine, everything, all of this is just tore up, and I'm critically wounded and I can't move. I can't even rotate. Everything, legs dead. My legs are like basically like a mannequin, and so I can't rotate. I can just move my neck up and my arms, and so so you know what's crazy, Bennett? It's that they don't believe in us. You're not subscribed. Come on, man. I know you want your subscriber ratio or whatever it is, your ego. Just subscribe, please. They start coming and they almost pass the street because I don't have my lights on or anything, because when I pulled up, it wasn't for a T-stop. So they pull down the street and they start taking care of me. So they have to take off my Sam Brown, everything, cut my clothes, and get to the wounds and apply, the care needed. So they start patching me up, and thankfully, shout out to this one firefighter, paramedic. Usually, for those of you that work law enforcement, know fire ain't coming anywhere near the situation, especially if there's gunshots involved or somebody that's been shot, until the scene is like clear, and everything's good. But so he got the okay, I guess, from his captain or whatever, and he took off and ran all the way down the street with the gear. So he has a medic bag, EKG, whatever, and he comes by himself, solo rider. I don't even know where he came from, because, man, it was crazy. So he came by himself, and he didn't care about, his safety. He knew that I was injured and I needed help. And so, shout out to him. So they get me patched up. Rebel goes to reposition the unit because he's got to swing around so we could exit out. So while he's patching me out, he coordinates airlift to meet us. So I get patched up. They move the car. First he gets out, and the car is super far. And they're like, "Bro, move the car closer." So he has to get back in, move it up. And so they go to get me in the car, and they're like, "All right, you ready? 1, 2." And I'm like, "Dog, I told you," I was like, "My legs don't work. My legs don't work." Because when they assessed me, I was telling them, that my legs don't work. I can't feel my legs. Abdomen was tore up. So then they had to carry me and put me in the back of the unit. And so we get the back of the unit, and I can't remember who I was. I think I was on either DJ, so shout out to DJ and them. So I had to crawl in the back, him and the firefighter, and they squeezed me in, and then they're trying to close the door. But for those of you that work law enforcement know, the back seat doors don't have handles. So it's just like the hard plastic and everything like that. And so they're trying to close it, but the door is hitting my legs. And they're like, "You gotta tuck your knees." And I'm like, "My legs don't work. I can't tuck my knees." And so DJ is just holding on to the plastic, and then my feet are partially hanging out the car, and he's just trying to hang on to the door as tight as he can while we drive. But when we take off, all we hear is and I thought they ran over like my gear or whatever. We ended up running over the firefighters like EKG machine, so I'm sure that wasn't cheap. But so we ended up backing up, going around it, and they take me to the rendezvous point to meet Ontario PD. And so I get there, they carry me put me into the back of the helicopter. And so me and the firefighter, we fly with Ontario PD. Thankfully for them, they flew into a hot zone too, and to land where the suspect is still in the area. He hasn't been caught, and trying to locate him still. So they landed to get me, out of safety. The helicopter could have got shot at, whatnot, who knows. So they land, get me in the helicopter, and we take off. I was so dehydrated. My mouth was so dry. I had the worst cotton mouth, and I just wanted some water, and I knew I couldn't. I take people to the hospital all the time, and they can't have anything. I knew I couldn't have anything, but I was like, man, if I'm gonna die, I do not want to die with cotton mouth, and so I asked for water. It was a no. So it was a gentle ride. We rode from Rancho to Pomona Valley, and so he was treated me. And sorry, Ontario, I was bleeding in the helicopter and stuff, so hopefully it wasn't too bad of a cleanup. And but yeah, so we get there. They put me on this big old stretcher with a hard plastic board and like back brace, because my legs don't work. So obviously I have a spinal injury, and man, we're on the roof of the hospital, and we keep going over these bump grates all the way in, and I'm awake this whole time. And yeah, it was crazy. I was on fire, and I was like, man, I'm about to die. And the last thing I hadn't talked to my family, and so I had wanted to talk to my wife. I didn't know if it was going to be the last time I see my wife, my kids. Just crazy situation. And one of the things, when I was laying there, I had my Apple Watch on, and I was getting a call, and it was from one of my best friends that works Fontana PD. And so I'm looking at my watch, and it's him calling me, and I know it's because he heard the 33 or the 999 on the radio. He probably got a 999 for Officer Down, and he was calling to make sure it wasn't me, but it was me. And yeah, so it was crazy just thinking about that while I'm waiting, for my partners. I was like, I want to answer my boy, but in the moment, I'm still on scene, and I don't know if this guy's coming back. I don't know, what's up. So I'm just, tucked. I got two guns in my hands, and I'm looking, and I'm just like, damn. And, I wanted to call my wife, but by the time I put everything down, everything's cut off me, phone's gone, and I'm like, that was, dinner with my family was the last time I'll see them. And, but I just kept thinking, I gotta live. And so I get in the hospital, they take me in, and boom, the anesthesiologist starts, ask first, doctors, nurses, whatever, they're asking questions, then the anesthesiologist right away asks you stuff, and answer as quick as possible. And I'm like, man, just make sure I wake up. I was like, no allergies to medication, whatever, blah blah blah. It was weird too. I get off the helicopter, and they're asking me if I've been vaccinated and all this other stuff, and I'm telling them no, and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna have to swab your nose and your butt. And I'm like, what the are you talking about? Can you just save me? Why are you worried if I'm vaccinated or not? I'm however long away from passing away, and you're worried about if I have a COVID vaccine. And so I'm hot at this point. But I'm trying to be, I want to be nice because I want you to save me at the same time. But I was just so mind blown, and I'm like, this is crazy, but just please save me. I'm like, I don't care if you got to give me the jab to save my life. I was like, whatever, jab me up. But other than that, nah, do what you got to do. I was like, you have to flip me over to swab my butt. This Diddy type activities we're talking about here. I ain't never heard of getting a COVID swab. But I'm like, make sure I'm passed out if you got to do that. But yeah, so this is incident happened around midnight. By the time I wake up, it's probably the afternoon the next day. So end up having trauma surgery. They took out part of my small intestine, large intestine, colon, like stated before. And so yeah, woke up, 3 IVs. So I had 2 on my right, 1 on my left. And the IVs were giving me all the nutrients and stuff that I needed. And so I'm still cotton mouth. I'm pleading for, just ice or anything watered, and I promise I'll spit it out. And just to rinse my mouth out, I couldn't even have water. And so for, I think it was like 7 or 8 days, I couldn't have water. And I had a tube going up my nose, down my throat into my stomach. And all I ate before work was some carrot dogs my wife made me. So she made us some carrot dogs, and I had that. I was supposed to have it for lunch. I didn't even have time to eat lunch that day. Didn't even get to my lunch, and so yeah. So they already did surgery on my abdomen. I had some sucking all this like fluid and stuff out of my my stomach. No diddy. So yeah, and so the pain was unbearable. I had like a little button I would press, and I could press it every however many minutes, like 15 minutes or something like that. And when I woke up from surgery, there was like a neurosurgeon there, and he was able to give me the PCP pump, and he put the medication in and set it to whatever, and so then that helped. And then as soon as he left for the day, man, this nurse came in, and she was like, "What? You can't have it. This is not this high," and she turned it all the way down to like the minimum. It wasn't doing anything for me. So for the next like 6-7 days, I was miserable. And so they're like, "Yeah, this is not the stuff that we're giving you through your IVs. It's not as strong as the pills or blah blah blah." So they're like, "You can try to take pills." So I tried to take the pills. And because of the tube, anytime like I would try to take the pills and drink like a little bit of water that they would allow me to take the pills, just the pills and the water would make me throw up. And so I would just be constantly throwing up for like 5-6 days. I'm just in the bed throwing up. My back is on fire. I can't feel my legs. My stomach and abdomen's on fire. So they cut me open from basically my pelvic area all the way up to almost my chest, and so all of that was stapled closed, and yeah, it was terrible. So finally I was like, I asked like, when can I get the tube out? I had to breathe. I had the oxygen and everything, and I just wanted to breathe. Every time I would try to take like a deep breath, I would throw up. And so they're like, "All right, well, you need to have a bowel movement or be constantly passing gas." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna have a bowel movement because there's nothing in there." I had a carrot dog for dinner, and I was like, that was 4 or 5 days ago. I was like, "You guys did abdominal surgery on me and took out part of my intestines and my colon." I'm like, "And you've been sucking out everything from inside for the past however many days." So I was passing gas, and they want to make sure that since I had the surgery to my intestines, that everything is still flowing like it needs to, and there's no leaks. But I'm like, there's nothing in there. So I'm passing gas, and I asked to get the tube out, and it was the same doctor that told me that I needed to pass gas. So he's like, let me double check like some things, and then I'll get back to you. So I knew immediately that meant no. And I had already told the nurse, I'm like, if he says no, like I'm taking this tube out, like I don't care. But I want to be respectful and let you know beforehand so you're not surprised. And so, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I knew he was full of it and he was gonna say no. So he left. I gave it a couple hours, and then I asked the nurse, I'm like, "Hey, has the doctor called to say whether I can get the tube out or not?" She's like, "No, let me double check." So she makes some phone calls, comes back, and she's like, "He said no." So I'm all right. That as soon as she walked out, I pulled that tube straight out, threw it, and I sat back, pulled the oxygen off my nose, and man, took the biggest deep breath, and I just that felt so good. But then all the all the little sensors and everything started going crazy. Nurse came in like panicking, and because I'm in the ICU still, and then she looks and she sees a tube, and she's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "If y'all want to put the tube back in," I was like, "You better call your strongest warriors because it's gonna be a fight." I'm like, this is gonna be a real life fight. You better put me to sleep, or I don't know if the restraint's gonna do it. So they let it fly, and they're like, we just monitor them real closely, and so after that, I was able to have some water to take the pills and everything, and then they made me drink this nasty fluid, and I had to go get a CT scan with contrast to make sure that my abdomen didn't have any leaks. And then after that, I was able to get fluids and be on a liquid diet. A day later, I was eating chicken broth and stuff like that. So and then I got like a day later, so I was able to get like a smoothie, so that was cool. And it's crazy. Come on, just like, comment, subscribe, at least one of the three, please. I gotta beg them. That's crazy. And then you're gonna look at me like that. That's crazy. Well, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you get a chance, go ahead, subscribe, comment down below what you like, what you want to hear me speak about. Yeah, let's get back into it. From there, they started to start me on some physical therapy, and they had these two big old Filipino dudes, or there's some type of Asian, they weren't Samoans, they wasn't polys for sure, but they were something. They was pretty big, so they had to pick me up, and they still wanted me to try to go number 2 and have bowel movement. So, and I felt bad because I was farting in this thing, and I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold my bowels, and I had a catheter in and everything like that. So they'd have to put the bag of the catheter on the little walker, and I was pooting. Boy, I don't even know what that room smelled like, but I don't want to remember. But so I had to get up, try to get to the bedside commode, which is essentially just a walker with a little toddler toilet on it. And so I'm like, man, so they would help me get up onto the walker, and keep in mind, my legs are pretty much useless. And so I would just use my upper body to like move the walker forward and then swing my legs, and I couldn't feel anything. So even like if I'm trying to put full pressure on my feet, I couldn't feel it, and so I couldn't wiggle my toes, I couldn't press my feet forward or anything like that. Like everything was just dead. And so I would try to use my hips to swing my legs, and yeah, so it was real different trying to just walk or try to learn how to walk when nothing functions. And so they would help me, and I would go like 4 feet maybe onto this, either the chair to sit, because they wanted to try to get me to sit up. So I'd get in the chair, and then I'd sit and watch TV for a little bit, or they'd try to get onto the commode to go to the bathroom, which I couldn't even use. But I'm like, I'm about to sit here and I got a boo-boo, so then I got the deputy or a family member, but then the deputy would just go outside the door. But it's just, so I was like, man, like, it's just crazy. You go from Division I athlete to not even to basically handicapped. And I knew I was, life was going to be different from just the time I was laying there in the street. But, the only thing that mattered to me was living. So being in the hospital and just having assistance to get over, like, I wasn't down on myself, because I knew that it could have been a lot worse with me not being alive, but thankfully I was alive. So, so I would do that, and just the exertion from getting 5 feet from the bed onto the chair, like, I would be exhausted. So I get back into the bed, and I go to sleep for like 3 to 4 hours, and it was crazy. So I would just be so exhausted. And I got to the point where I was able to drag myself from the bed with the walker and with the assistants, and they get me to the end of the hospital room and back. And so it was probably like 20 feet. And and I'll be cooked. The rest of the day I'm asleep for like 5, 6 hours, and then my family would be there visiting me. I'd just be asleep. But you know, it was important to them to be there for me, and so people would come visit, and I would try my best to, you know, be attentive and things like that. And so I was there for, I think, 11 days or so, and on my 11th day at night, I got transferred to Loma Linda to the inpatient rehab, and so I spent about, I think it was 22 days there. And so I was doing physical therapy about 4 days, or 4 times a day, and they were getting me up, and they were, you know, challenging me. I was challenging myself, and that's just the type of person I am. I always wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to be the best at everything I did. And people that know me know it came to conditioning and all of that. It don't matter. I'm trying to beat everybody. Doesn't matter every single rep. So I was going hard, and I was challenging myself, and I would be tired by by the end of the day. I was cooked, but it was crazy just the walk to um, from my room using the walker, and you know, dragging, and I was using primarily my upper body to drag my body. And I had some clips in, or a clip in of me like learning when I was halfway through trying to get myself walking. But just to get to the physical therapy room was a mission. And yeah, so they had me on all different types of machines. They put a harness on me, and then I'd be hanging from this thing dangling while they moved me over and pushed it from the mat onto the treadmill. And so it's like a thing to lessen your body weight, and so you can try to walk. And so I'm on there looking crazy, and so yeah, so just kept working at it day by day. They would teach me how to care for myself as well with the way my body was, and transitioning from wheelchair into the shower onto the bench, and how to, you know, wash myself, basic necessities. And so it's crazy, you know, learning how to be a totally different person, you know, as far as to care for yourself. And finally I was at the point with help and my abilities from what I've learned and all the new skills and everything I learned in the rehab to be able to get discharged. And so, yeah, got discharged. It was cool. My captain at the time now got promoted to deputy chief. Him and one of my sergeants, they came, added extra railing in my house so I can get up the stairs. And so I got discharged. I was primarily wheelchair walker. I can walk. I was able to get up to being able to walk about 500 feet, but then after that I was cooked for like a couple of days. I would just lay down and be done. So I would go upstairs, get in bed, and I'd sleep. And then when I woke up, I'd make one trip down, so I had a walker for upstairs and a walker for downstairs, because if not, I would need somebody to carry my walker down, because I couldn't get down the stairs using one arm. I had to use two hands to hold the railing and then do one step at a time. And it was a little process. And so I would make one trip down at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day I'd make one trip up, and I would just, you know, get down the stairs, walk to the couch, and that's where I stayed for the entire day. Take my naps. My medication I was taking would make me really drowsy, so all I would do is eat, sleep, and yeah, so it was kind of like, I hate asking people for things, so it was, you know, I couldn't even get water for myself or get something to eat because I couldn't hold on to the water, and then trying to walk with the walker. So having to ask for stuff, you know, I didn't want to be a liability. And so that kind of inspired me too, to get back on my feet. And so I went from one trip a day to 2 trips a day. And then it went from, if I needed something up the stairs, I would just rough it and go get it. And so I just eventually started to just challenge myself. And when I went to physical therapy, I would challenge myself. And it was never no. They're like, you want to try this? Yes, let's do it. And so I was going to physical therapy like twice a week. And at one point I was going 4 to 5 times a week, and just trying to get better. as much as possible. And there was a bunch of challenges, honestly. That's for another day. But navigating workers' comp is kind of hard. But thankfully, I had good people that I can reach out to when I needed things, and they'd get everything sorted out. So that wasn't an issue. And I'm one of those people that I like to do stuff myself. I don't want to always ask for help unless I need it. And when I did need it, and it was the last option, they got it done quickly. Um, so yeah, I can never thank Deputy Chief Perez enough. That guy, man, he really cared about me, and he was there for my family from day one, and still to this day, somebody that I talk to regularly and I can count on any time of need. So yeah, so I ended up coming back temporarily because I went from wheelchair to walker, from walker to cane, and but I needed to save time. I knew I was going to have surgery again. Due to the trauma, I had a bunch of built up scar tissue and everything that attached to my spinal cord and my nerves. And talking to my neurosurgeon, basically what he said is once that scar tissue, after a few years, it would callus onto my spinal cord and my nerves. And once it calloused, he's like, it's basically everything is almost irreversible. And so I would just start to lose function to like my kidneys, my man parts, and everything below the waist. And he was like, the surgery is optional, but he's like, I don't want to force you. I can't force you to have the surgery, but like if you don't have it, this is what's gonna happen. But as soon as he said my knee was gonna stop working, I was like, bro, we could walk across the street right now. Can we do this tomorrow, or when are you available next? Like, we're getting this done ASAP. So I knew I was gonna have surgery, so I asked to go back to work on modified duty. So I went back on modified duty to save my 4850 time. So you get a year of 4850 time, essentially. And that's basically a year. All your pay is the same. You still get your benefits, etc. And you still accumulate your seniority, your vacation time, your sick time. So I wanted to save some of that time. So I'll figure out something. I was like, they'll be good with me and they'll get me in a spot. So did that for a few months before my surgery. I had my surgery, and I was in a good spot when I went back. I had discharged my cane partially, and so I was using the cane sometimes still, and I was having some pain. So I'd be at the office trying to do work, and then I'd have to, my back would be killing me so bad from, trying to talk and catch up with people, and I'd stand for like 15 minutes and my back was cooked, and I'd be laying on the floor underneath my desk in my little cubicle, and I'd be under there for about 30, 45 minutes until I was able enough to just get back in my seat. But I know I needed to save the time, and I didn't want to make a big deal of it and everything, and I didn't want people to know everything that I was going through, and so I would do that just to get through the day. And yeah, so I had my second surgery, and that's when I for sure knew I wasn't coming back in any capacity, and that I was most likely going to medically retire, because that one was really rough. And so I had that surgery. It was really tedious. He had to go in, and he said it was basically like all my scar tissue was like spaghetti, and just it tangled, wrapped around my nerves and everything. So I had to detangle everything and go through and cut and remove all this scar tissue. And it's real delicate because it's my nerves and my spinal cord, and some of the nerves were just cooked. He had to get rid of them. He said they would grow back, but it moves like basically a tiny whatever millimeter or something a day. So it'll take like years to get all the way back down to like my toes and everything like that. So he also removed like a cystic mass from my spine. Real big, tedious surgery. And so when I woke up, I had to lay flat, and then after a certain amount of hours, he could lift me up a few degrees, and then after a few hours more, they lift me up a few degrees, and then more a few degrees. So I was in the hospital for a little under a week, and then got discharged, and I was back to almost square one. The only thing is I had a little bit more function compared to when I first got shot. But I couldn't move again. It was rough, and so that really defeated me. And I went from super motivated to, to more of a, I wouldn't say defeated, but more of a realization that my body would never be, and I knew my body wouldn't be the same, but I knew that I was fully different, and that it was hard and it was rough and it was tough. Not mentally, I wasn't depressed or anything like that, but um, I was in a space that I knew like I just need to worry about getting better for my family and more of to wanting. Once I had a son, just one son at the time. Now I have two, but I knew that it wasn't the things that I wanted to do and the way I wanted to be able to interact with my kids. Like that was my main goal. I need to get better for them, and I can't be worried about all these other things. I have to put my health first. And so yeah, I ran through the rest of my 48-50 time because I had my surgery just shy of a year before before the anniversary of my incident. So I ran through my 48-50 time, and I was on limited disability for like a week or two. Went back, used the rest of my what is it called? My modified duty time, and so that ran out just before, or right around February, right before February of 2024. And so I was back on limited disability. So you get a year of limited disability. It's basically 66% of your pay, but it's tax free, and then you can use your sick time to cover like your benefits and make up the difference in pay. If you liked the episode, go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you liked or what you want to hear about, or if you have anything you want to debate about. Who knows? Maybe I'll bring you on the show. Probably not. We don't even have equipment to bring you on, so I'm not even gonna lie to you. Don't even get your hopes up. But yeah, peace. But yeah, so I did that up until until my time ran out, but I had already been in the process of medical retirement. So for medical retirement, it takes about 8 to 10 months to get processed. So I was going through the process the whole time, and if it wasn't approved, basically I went to my sick time ran out, which carried me all the way into the end of 2024. But essentially, if I didn't apply for medical retirement, I would have to either file for 4850.3, which is basically a loan from the county where you basically get another year of 4850, but it's a loan. So all the time that you use out on 4850.3, you have to pay that money back. So usually they work out something to where your injury settlement covers the time out or whatnot. But I knew for me, like I didn't know how long I was going to be out because I'm going to have surgery, which is going to be this week. And they wouldn't give me my permanent work restrictions. So because I was going to have surgery again, and so it's real political, more from a county sense. The county has different policies because we still deal with county HR. So the department, obviously they would have done anything in their power to give me a position, but they weren't allowed to offer me a position because I wasn't, so it was the only other options besides 4850.3 was to get cleared full duty, no restrictions, or get my permanent work restrictions. But my doctor wouldn't give me my permanent work restrictions because I was still gonna have surgery to potentially make me better. So they don't want to say, oh, his maximum is this, because it's political when it comes to other things. And money, it's not that big of a deal, but it's more of the county thing and workers' comp and all that. And so they weren't able to give me my work restrictions. So it's either I say, hey, I want to go back, clear me, and force the doctor against my will to lie and say that I'm cleared 100% and with no restrictions. And then basically I would end up getting a letter from the county saying, oh, we just got a letter that states that you're good to go 100%, no restrictions, this, that, and other. That means you no longer need care. Now you have to submit a letter to to kind of contest it, and so you get that from workers' comp, and which I've got a letter like that before, which is insane, just because I went back on modified duty, and so then then you have to fight even extra hard for, and I knew I needed surgery still, so yeah, it was either put my health first or deny my health really and fight even harder just to go back. And I knew that I was done. And so yeah, it wasn't, it's no fault to the department. It's more of the policies with the county, not the department. So I have no bad blood with the department at all. I love the department. They've done everything for me when the incident happened, and support for my family, especially from the station level. And so no bad blood with them. It's a lot of the cats that went out and were out for forever for stubbed toes and things like that. It's the reason why the policies are like that, because they have to protect themselves too at the end of the day. But there's just no discrepancy in there from like a critical injury on duty compared to something minor or mid injury. So when you understand things like that, like it's, you don't get as mad, because I understand why they have their policies and the stuff is written that way. And so ultimately, I'll be okay. The department's taking care of me, and so yeah, so that's why I'm retired. So that's my recovery so far. So I'll be getting my disc replaced. On Thursday, I'm getting this big old piece. Maybe I'll put a picture of what it looks like on the screen. But that's been my recovery journey so far. So I'm back walking again, without assistance. We'll see if I'll need assistance again after this surgery. But yeah, I'm not even close to the guy I was before. Definitely not a Division I athlete anymore. But yeah, so hopefully after this surgery, I'll be a little bit better at being able to get active and be active with my kids. And that's, just my ultimate goal, is to be able to be present and active for my kids. But yeah, so thanks for watching this episode. Hopefully you tune in, and yeah, hopefully I have some more content for you this week or next week. So be on the lookout. Follow my social medias, Marky Mark Show. All the updates will be on there. So yeah, check us out. Check me out. Thank you.